Are you ready to go all in?
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this.
And welcome to the All In Practice Growth Podcast, the podcast that brings you a new perspective on the dental and medical industries and so many other things. I'm your host, Shane McElroy, and I haven't got to say this in a while, but I'd like to welcome my co-host / guest / business partner / BFF, Mr. Blake McClellan. What's up, buddy?
Not really sure what to do with my hands here, so
You're
just-
terrible on camera.
I got a face for radio, that's for sure.
We've been missing you on the podcast. We haven't seen you I don't know. You had one episode, but other than that, 50 episodes, my friend.
I talk too much already. I run my mouth way too much.
You say that I interrupt you and I talk too much, so I don't know what's really going on here.
I mean, yeah, you do talk a lot. I definitely wish there was a mute button, but no, it's good. I think that the pod since you've been running it is better. I do. I think it's good because I think when it's you and I, we can derail and then hijack it from some of the guests. So I think
they should be less boring.
Well, I would say it's more that we're poster children for Ritalin, so I think that that's part of it. But yeah, no, I think it's good. I miss
You're definitely on the spectrum. I am definitely on the spectrum and ADD.
Yeah, the doctors still haven't figured it out with me, but it's a mystery to unravel. Maybe RFK's got the secret. I don't know, but yeah, no, I think it's been good. I think it's been really good. It's funny though. I was thinking back. I was talking to Lacey about remember the COVID era of the podcast and all the things we were doing. It seems like it wasn't that far along, or it wasn't that long ago, but now it feels like a century ago. In the same sense.
It's like forever ago, but a minute ago at the same time. And it's a very weird. It's like time distortion. In a way.
The timeline has accelerated. I feel like I mean, it's been a wild ride since 2020.
So part of that is you getting older. So what I've noticed too, it's a year is a smaller percentage of your life the longer you go. That's why when you're a kid at Christmas, it feels like a year, like on December 23rd to get to 25th. But for us now, tomorrow will be Christmas, right?
Well, you're a lot older though. You're what, 54, 55? How old are you?
I'm 43.
Oh,
I'm 43.
God. I was going to say you look good for 55, but not for 43.
All right. Thanks a lot, buddy. Well, hey, listen, it's been so long since you've really been on this podcast that, we've got a lot of new listeners that I'd like to introduce you to kind of who you are as a person, but also kind of reintroduce you to some of our, faithful listeners over the many years we've been doing this.
Thanks, Shane, Mom. Appreciate
you. My mom especially. But you have really encouraged me, and I can't thank you enough, to really dive into AI, ChatGPT in particular, and some of those things. And I took heed of your advice, my friend. And so what I thought we would do is I found this new feature on ChatGPT where it's kind of like a psychoanalysis, right? So you've heard of word association, right? Where I will say a word or a phrase. You just say the first word that comes to your head, and then ChatGPT will actually analyze that for us. Okay, you up for that?
Can we just skip to the end where you say I'm a psycho? Because I know where this is going. This is a setup.
No. No, this is actually legit. I was actually playing with this. It's shockingly accurate. AI is amazing, but let's just do this. So, all right. So Blake, what we're going to do, word association, ChatGPT is then going to give us your personality profile or description of your personality. So it's just real, rapid fire, 10 words. You ready to go?
Here we go.
All right. Let me get this going. All right, chat. We got Blake here. I'm about to start with the 10 word association nouns or descriptions. All right. Word number 1, entrepreneurship.
Pain.
Pain. Okay. Future of dentistry.
Automation.
TikTok.
Drugs.
Okay. America.
Broken.
Artificial intelligence.
Job cutting.
OnlyFans.
Cancer.
Fatherhood.
Joy.
SEC football.
Now that I'm in it. Kingdom.
Podcasting.
Therapeutic.
Shane McElroy.
Idiot. Oof, that was quick.
Wow, that hurts. All right, let me just click this. All right, she's analyzing, and here we go.
Blake is an asshole.
Oh, whoa. Okay, hold up. Listen, even AI can get stuff wrong. Like, that is not how I would categorize you. All right, chat, I think you made an error or something. Will you please try that again?
Recalculating. I was incorrect. Blake is not an asshole. I apologize. Blake is a huge asshole.
Nailed it. See, AI is really it's really got us going there, buddy. So now that everybody's kind of reintroduced to you as a huge asshole, I'm just kidding, folks. He's one of my best friends. So if I'm close to you, I mess with you all the time, as apparently does ChatGPT.
Oh, now I don't feel so bad about my idiot comment. That one.
Yeah, no, I warned you, my friend.
Right.
I warned you. Well, because it genuinely has been a long time. So there's a few people. You're pretty popular in this industry, but why don't you kind of just take everybody high level overview, your background, how you got into dental, what are some of the the couple things you've actually done?
Not much. It started as sleeping out of my car and selling heart monitors and cadaver tissue and ancillary things, whatever I could get a 1099 contract with. So,
Stop real quick. You sleep selling out of your car? Or you were doing what?
yeah, I was definitely in like Walmart parking lots, sleeping in my car, like traveling multi states, trying to hawk heart monitors to anybody doing sedation in office. And somehow I was selling cadaver tissue, so I was doing bone graft materials. What else was I selling? Like Porter matrix units, just random stuff. My first sale was
Grinding.
an endodontist, which I didn't even know how big of a deal that was to sell some biologics to an endo. But yeah, so it started there, grinded it out, bounced around the country a little bit here and there, and then started my own little instrument company and stuff, and picked a bad partner at the time, and just got out quick and early. So sometimes you can kind of see that early. So fortunately, I was enough to see, hey, this is not going to end well. So pulled out, and then in 2016, got in touch with an old high school friend who was like a tech nerd, and crazy story. I'm pretty sure he's like, I don't know, something super Asian or something, because he lived in like Russia and Saudi Arabia and all of that.
So it sounded like you said super Asian, super agent. I think
super
is what he said.
agent. Yeah, super agent. And we started an app, live. We wanted to live stream surgeries.
Yep.
With Implant Compare, that was fun. Got me kind of exposed to the tech world and playing that. And then we started on Instagram. So I think we were probably one of the first brands to really embrace dental Instagram. And it was a wild ride. Back then, I mean, it wouldn't be nothing to add 1,000 followers in a week.
Yep.
It was a wild ride. And that's where like you get Bloody Tooth Guy, you get Jason Auerbach, you get Ben Johnson, Pay Ray was early then. I mean, a lot of them, were starting then. And then that was cool. And I think David Wong came a little bit later, but he like cannonballed in. So then you would go to dental conferences and people would recognize you as your Instagram handle. So no one knew Blake McClellan. They knew Implant.
So funny story. Like Blake and I met, I don't even know how many years ago, but when you were doing Implant Compare live stream stuff.
Yeah.
But we'd go to an event and like, it's just Blake, my new buddy, no big deal. And then people would come up, are you Implant Compare? Are you Implant Compare? Like he was some celebrity. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It was wild.
I got it the other night. Actually, it was a little bit of a nostalgia moment. I was lecturing for Beacon Oral Specialists in Atlanta Oral and Facial here in North Atlanta. And then their new surgeon, it was his first kind of study club, kind of introducing him to everybody. And we were talking, and he had worked with, I want to say he had known Brian Farrell. And I was like, oh, I know Brian. We did some surgery together. And he goes, well, wait a second. Are you Implant Compare? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh my God, I've been following you forever. And it was kind of a nostalgia moment to go back to where, again, when people didn't know my name at all, it was just my social handle. But it was fun. And that kind of just opened my eye to the nimbleness of dentistry and like how rapidly it evolves. I think that's underappreciated because tech adoption in dental is a lot more accelerated than it is in most medical specialties, because you're dealing with like hospitals and approvals and it's slow, and it takes a year to just get a contract through. once someone says yes in a lot of ways. But I think that's underappreciated in dentistry because you look at photogrammetry, you look at 3D printing, AI, we're really disruptive. And so I think it opened my eyes to see that there's a lot of opportunity. And we ended up doing the Dental Influencers Conference in 2018.
Yeah, so Blake was the original kind of brainchild of Dental Influencers Alliance, if you're familiar with that, the first and
Well, to
biggest
be
social
fair,
media conference.
Tequila was Uncle
Well,
Julio's in
tequila.
Nashville, and Nick Tequila and Tacos in Pere.
Tequila was your muse, yeah.
Yeah, it's my fuel. No, we just kind of were just joking and like, hey, there's something here, but some organization's gonna do it and mess it all up. They're gonna
Yeah, of
corporate the
course.
hell
Well,
out
they've
of
done
it.
that since. By
Yeah. And I said, if I could put a visual of dentistry, it's some guy walking around in khakis and a blazer, dropping bagel crumbs all over your booth and drinking some stale coffee, walking
and
around
doing cocaine in the bathroom.
I didn't have that. Vegas conferences, but it was just kind of boring. And I think that's where a lot of dental conferences lately are struggling. They're trying to reinvent. They're trying to be different. Since DIA, you've seen certain brands try to spin their own version of DIA out. And I applaud it. It's not I'm disgruntled about it or frustrated that, oh, you're taking our concept. I think that's a good thing. It moves the industry forward. And with the new younger dental audience coming up, we're more, I think, a little bit more family centric than the generation before us. I would,
Yes.
not a stab or jab at anybody, but I feel like that is. I think since COVID, we're all much more homebodies than we used to be.
The default mode is stay at home.
Yeah, it is. And so if I'm leaving, it better be a good reason, and I better have a good time and a good memory. And so with DIA, you had all these people who really were intimately connected, and I
Like
just
digitally, just never
yeah,
met in person, most of them.
never pressed flesh, right? Never knew each other in face to face. And I just said, if you just put this room together and a good vibe, magic will happen. And just that first day, the first event, everybody coming up and hugging like they've been lifelong friends, like they were in dental school together. And it
100%.
was magic, and I think that's what a dental conference should be. And I think so much
You
of it
created an experience, right?
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's kind of what it's required now to genuinely draw an audience, especially anybody 40 and under, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say you have to. It's not just show up and rinse and repeat anymore. It's like, I want something new, something fun.
Well, and two, I think there's a shift happening too. Before the podium was purchased, it
Fair
was
enough.
who was the heaviest donor, and that's a big part of what I wanted to do is disrupt that. It was glorified commercials. When we first came into dental, these podium talks were just glorified pamphlets.
It was owned by the bigger, device companies or whoever's audience they were trying to capture, is what Blake means of like, let's throw 50 to 100, 200 grand.
Yeah.
We own the stage. And like, to your point, a commercial as opposed to genuine sharing of like knowledge, so you'll get some of that, but it just becomes buy this, buy this, buy this.
It was dominated by the giants, and so I'll give a shout out to Dr. Eduardo de Aguiar, and he's now in Mexico, but he teaches the photography courses, and I think we were in Bahrain, like we were in the Middle East for one of these events. Well, I went a couple times actually, and he said he was teaching me a really cool technique he was doing in grafting, and I said, why is nobody teaching this? He goes, brother, biology has no sponsors, and that really stuck with me that if the best treatment is not necessarily very profitable, it may never get any attention because who's going to sponsor and buy that podium spot and everything else. And so the model of DIA was we're going to reach out to really cool people teaching cool stuff. And then if they happen to use a product, we'll contact that brand saying, hey, we're doing this. If you want to support them, great. But we're doing this anyways, and we're not letting you take control. This is going to be multiple brands. You're going to have to get comfortable with other companies being a part of this. And it just worked. I mean, honestly, if you said that on paper before then, you're probably like, you're an idiot. It's not going to work. But it actually did. And hiccups here and there, maybe. But overall, it was a huge success because people were talking about what they were really passionate about. And the science drove the lecture curriculum versus, hey, we need you to fit within our confines of our messaging and our pamphlet, And so
Yeah.
I think that's the way it's changing now, and that's what Instagram was about, is teaching technique, not teaching because I'm paid to teach it kind of thing. And that's a good thing for the industry and the patients.
Instagram was that. I'd say Instagram's got some work to do because now it's such a challenge. I think you and I talked about this the other day of it's hard to organically grow now. You have to get lucky. You have to, I mean, it's so much work where I think it's shifted people to other platforms to connect, TikTok, YouTube, name a billion
Well,
others.
this is your simple curve of early adoption. You go back to the gold rush. You look at even modern day, the pot rush in some of these legalized states. The first adopters, the early adopters, get the most rewarded success
Yes.
in the first, right? And they see that massive trajectory shift. And then once everybody realizes, then it's not there. I mean, you mentioned OnlyFans earlier. Same thing. I saw some stat on X or something, and someone was pointing out that they were in the top, I don't know, I think it was like 3% of whatever content creators on there, but they made like $300 a month or whatever it was. And you're like, good gosh, you're putting yourself out there and it's never going away for what, a few $100 a month? That's horrible.
Dude, I must have got on way too late because I've only made like $2 out of it, and it keeps going to this guy named Blake M. And I don't know who it is, but that
We
dude
gotta
loves
find him.
my feet.
We got to find him. It's a weird dude. And, you can't get refunds from OnlyFans apparently. No, but it is. I mean, Instagram was the early adopter reward, and then now the mass adoption is there. Now it's really hard to get that viral moment. And what nobody's talking about is the volume of AI generated content.
Yes.
So much of what's happening now, and look, this can even be malicious. There are foreign countries trying to create division in society by generating content and making artificial videos. I mean, hell, what do we have this week is the government shutdown, and the big thing is like AI generated memes mocking each party.
AI generated memes, and then AI, comments too, to try to like stir people up.
Yeah,
which is the craziest part.
It's been abused a lot, and I think there's going to be some course correction here. I think that's probably the number one problem that these platforms are talking about on a daily basis is removing the artificial components of it, because you can build an AI agent right now and it could crank out 10 videos a day easily for you and look like it's a human avatar saying the content like as if it's real. And so we're in that kind of rough patch right now of social media that we're competing with computers that can produce at volumes that we could never keep up with. And they're pretty good. And it's only getting better. Sora 2 came out this week, the new updated model of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making, I saw one video this morning. It was SpongeBob in a car getting pulled over, and it looked like body cam footage. And it looked like a real body cam footage video. And it had that kind of CGI effect of SpongeBob, but it's just happening so fast that I don't think we're consuming even 50% human generated content right now.
No, and the answer is not, well, I guess I can't compete. Like, as a business, in my opinion, like you kind of have to be on social now. It's kind of like having to have a website 20 years ago. It's kind of like having to be in the yellow pages 30, 40 years ago. Like, that's how people are going to find you now. And so you've got this have to do this. I think most people who, whether they like social media or not, it's kind of irrelevant, kind of know that, but at the same time are freaked out because, well, I don't know what to do or how to create that. I don't know what do I do?
I would say, one, look, we've gone through this before. Remember the Russian bot era of social media, right? You get a bunch of followers overnight and all this stuff, and then all these comments. We've been through this before. We'll get through this one as well. It's getting resolved. I know these platforms are discussing it on a daily, because again, they want their advertisers to be successessful too, and so it is a problem.
And they've got awful PR right now, right? Everybody's, it's social media's fault. It's like, well, yeah, but yeah, it's also our fault.
Yeah, I mean, what we also had in the past few weeks, Oracle's now acquired TikTok, so that's going to get a new algorithm change and stuff like that. So again, this will be resolved, but I think we've shifted from, I always use a fishing analogy with social media, but that's just the redneck in me. But instead of being the bait, now it's more the net, meaning patients or any customer for a brand is going to vet you through social media. So when they go there, they need to see a lot about you and see that you're humanizing the brand, that you're relatable, you're likable, that there's something there that's human substance, not just a billboard. And so it'll help them build a little bit of an intimate connection with you. And so that's why I say it's a net, that you better have that net built out and no holes in it. So when they do go look and they're there, versus it's no longer the bait that it's getting out there to make people aware of you as much. It's just shifted. It's not completely one side or the other. It's just kind of
Sure.
more heavily on the net side, I would say. And so that's where, you're here now. We've talked about this. Patients are coming into the chair, and this is from clients of ours. They're coming in much more educated. They're
Yes.
coming in much more informed, and it's making for a lot easier chairside conversations because it's not the first time they're hearing this recommendation or what this process is or anything else.
Sure.
So that's a big value add too, I think, in a lot of ways.
Well, and it was interesting. I saw a stat, and this has might be 6 months, a year ago, so I need to check again, but it was 60 or 65% of people over the age of 55 will check out a medical or dental practice social media before they'll actually commit to booking an appointment with them. That means they're not doing the traditional method of just going to a website. They're actually seeing social media, right?
Yeah.
Which is more of in an ideal scenario, a genuine perspective of your practice, of you, of your team, all of that. And so that kind of threw me off because that stat was not even close to that. 2 years prior, it was probably 10% of people at that age. So it's completely changed. It's astronomically growing.
Well, and then again, back to the adoption. I think that's where, everybody's realized like this is such a normalized thing, and that's why everybody's doing it, making content and getting their brand out there and stuff. But it's challenging. I got to kind of ask, what is your secret sauce? Because one thing I always will praise you for is how awkward and funny you are. You get people out of their comfort zone, no matter how rigid they are, and you can see that in the content. Like, I'm terrible at making that kind of stuff. I'm good on interviews for more serious stuff and
Sure.
heartfelt things. But for you, when it comes to humanizing the brand, making it relatable, and making it something that they actually would continue to follow because it's funny,
Yeah.
what's the magic there? Because how do you do that?
I don't know if it's magic. It's just a while ago, and this is actually credit to you. So little backstory here. When we started, I know I hate giving you credit, but when we started this podcast, in the business world, I was pretending to be something. I was pretending to be super professional Shane, right? Yeah, well, also cool. Neither of which I was. And Blake says, nobody wants that. They want the real you. I'm like, oh, well, are you sure about that? Because you said, I won't do this podcast unless you're you. And that was one of the biggest, I look back, and this is crazy to think this, that was one of the big, those moments in your life where it's like, you can go right or you can go left, right? Like, which path are you going to take? And I went a hard right there, like I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be me. And it was a risk because I was working, for a big company, and I didn't ask their permission. I just kind of did it. But being totally me, and it totally paid off. And I think embracing, like, we did the Jeopardy stuff where I put a fake mustache. I genuinely went all in on this. Just the madness in here. I just stopped being embarrassed or thinking people wouldn't like it, and said, you know what, F you if you don't like me or who I am. And so making fun of myself a lot and being okay with being who I am, which is I love to have fun. I'm professionally unprofessional. I care about people a lot, but more than anything, I'm kind of a goofball. And
you are, but you definitely could have been a TV host. I think like a late night game show or something. Like you have that personality, but you did embrace it fully, and you did it at a time when it wasn't popular and it was risky. So when we first met, you were a rep for BioHorizons.
Yep.
Right, and we had met through in a competing rep. It was Cammy, who was with Nobel at the time, was like, you guys just got to connect. I feel like y'all two would just like bro out.
Side note, make friends with your competition because they don't come after you that way.
But and Cammy, she's left dental since then, but love her. She was always awesome. a good friend in the industry. And I think when you did that, it was a lot of risk and it was not popular. And you just started putting yourself out there. And you were, I would say, one of the first as a rep side who became, I guess, got a seat at the table. The stigma in dentistry is you're just the rep. You're just the rep. You're here to serve me.
Which, by the way, makes sense because you have to put up some walls because there's so many shitty salespeople and that just want your money and don't genuinely care. And so to break down that wall, it was really difficult. But to your point, I think doing all that, people like, and part of it was I was never selling on social, and you taught me that too. It was selling who I was, not selling a thing. And that mattered a lot because people didn't know I was a rep. And I think that put their wall down. So by the time they hung out with me for a while, an hour or so, had a beer, like, wait, you're not a doctor, you're a sales rep? And I was like, yeah. They're like, oh, okay, I guess you're still cool.
But that's I mean, for anybody that may be a rep, especially if you're green, because that was a big part of our following when we first started this was reps, right?
Absolutely.
And if you're starting out in the industry and you think it's about learning the literature and being transactional and just, as long as you text back quick and you're kind of robotic in those relationships, I made this mistake for years. I treated everything as transactional, and it's not that. There are always going to be transactional people on the doctor side, on the rep side. There's a lot of that, but the best reps with the longevity, who are at companies for 10, 15, 20 years, who crush it, are the ones who are just good friends. They become friends with their clients. They're reliable, but they're buddies. They're hanging out on the weekend and stuff. And I think of Chip up in Tennessee. He's that type, right? But there are many out there that, as long as you start building a good relationship, and you did that well, you're still friends with all those clients. You hang out with them on the weekend, you go to concerts together and stuff. That's how you really succeed in the industry. Know your stuff, be good. And if you're in a surgical product, you better be ready. You better be as good as the doctor in surgery and know your stuff. But you've got to be a likable person. And I always said when we were training sales reps, like you need to be the person they want to have a bourbon with after surgery.
Yes.
You
want to be the person that they go, yay, Shane's here, not, oh, Shane's here.
Yeah. And it also allows you forgiveness. It's going to give you some insurance that when things will always go wrong in surgery, if anybody that's been in surgery realizes that, it'll give you some grace and forgiveness. Or if a product breaks or whatever, they're going to not just take all that anger and frustration and just channel it towards you, as long as you're trustworthy and friendly. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've learned in the years of being in medical is learn to just humanize yourself. Don't be a robot. Don't read the pamphlets. That is not it.
And I kind of want to summarize what you said for sales rep. Listen, guys, especially if you're new. So Blake had said, transactional, short term, right? So if we're thinking about investments, that would be like a penny stock where you're just trying to make some money real fast, but it's risky, versus the long game of investing in something that is, tried, true, which is trust, building trust, like being genuine, showing up, giving effort, and taking accountability. Like that's the long-term investment, which is going to pay off. And it is a hard thing as a new rep or new to a company, because you're like, you want to show out, you want to put up big numbers right away. And I think there's a little bit of that transactional stuff that can mix in there. However, the long game, which is what you want to really establish yourself, is to build trust, number one. And you do that by being authentic, by putting forth effort, by being honest and taking accountability. So like, for instance, one thing I learned later in my career, like early on, it was like something broke and I would blame somebody at the company. That's a bad look. That's a bad look. I take accountability. So if something screwed up, my customers loved it when I screwed up, or my company did. So what I mean by that is, like, if somebody at the company's misbilled somebody or screwed up, it's my fault. I am the company to them. That's all that really matters. So take accountability for it. Don't blame anybody else. And people respect that. But if you screw up, make it over payback, right? So if a product didn't get shipped in time or the wrong part, they would be excited about it because they're like, well, this is going to be awesome. What kind of gift am I going to get now? And I don't mean a gift, by the way. I don't mean a gift. I mean, like, what's Shane going to do to overcome this times 10?
That's surgery though, right? You got a patient flapped open and something goes wrong. It's not the blame game. It's how the hell do we get through
Let's
this?
just get this shit solved.
We don't have the option to go, well, someone messed up, let me just walk away. We've got to get the grit to get through it. And I think a great book for anybody to read is the Jocko Willink Extreme Ownership book. I love that book. It talks about in the military, it's all about ownership and accountability. You got to own your mistakes. And again, it's not going to do you any good to point it at anybody else. You want to be the person that perseveres and gets through that, because again, patience on the table, you're working through it. I don't have the option of saying, well, someone messed up, I can just walk away. You have to figure out, even if the surgeon makes a mistake, they have to fix it and get through it. And so extreme ownership will pay dividends.
The number one, sign of a great leader.
Yeah.
And accountability. Just own it. And because if you, like I always say this, if you're not in control of something or take control of something, you have no control. right? Like if it's somebody else's fault, I can't, well, it's not my fault. I don't know what to do. Like you're just sitting there, you're not doing anything. But if you take accountability, you can change it. You have power then. And so where accountability can be uncomfortable and not fun on face value, it also gives you a lot of power.
And to the doctors listening, so the dentists, the surgeons, whomever's listening on that side of the fence, your mentorship is invaluable and it will command loyalty. I know for me, my relationships and mentors in this industry, my first mentor, he's now in his 80s and still practicing multiple days a week. He will die in gloves. The moment he stops operating, that's when life ends for him in his mind. And so he will never stop. But he used to pick on me but he taught me a lot. And so if you see these green reps coming in and you see there's good character there, helping them and molding them into being a great rep is invaluable. And again, it'll command loyalty and pay dividends on both ways, because as you grow as a talented clinician, you may want to get into speaking, and that rep tends to hold the keys, or at least be the voice and advocate for you to get those opportunities. But yet, mentoring them is essential. And I couldn't thank the mentors to me throughout my
100%.
career enough.
Yeah, no, like shout out to like Dr. Jeff Sherry, Periodontics, Dr. Paul Anderson. So like Jeff Sherry, before I ever had a full arch case, he was doing, competitors' implants. And I just asked, can I just come watch and ask questions? I won't say anything. I won't sell anything. And he just let me come into case after case and taught me. And I think he helped develop me, which like worked out for him too, because I knew a lot of stuff outside of just implants and helping with this or that or the other, and became a really good friend. And like Dr. Paul Anderson, he's a great friend, but I had to earn it, right? That long-term investment with him. Yeah. Cause I don't blame him. Not quick to trust there. And, but really developed that. Still amazing friend, great surgeon there too. And then like Robin Johnson from RJ Dental Creations is a lab full arch guy. And I've been in 1,000 cases, probably half of them with him. And just like, if without those people, my career would be completely different.
Yeah. No, I remember one time Paul Anderson, this is when I was working with ProMed. We did a lot of different capital equipment. And so Bovie electrosurge to anesthesia machines to, it's a lot of things to be an expert on. If you're working on an implant system, your system like the back of your hand.
You better.
That's kind of how I operate. I want to know everything about it so I can be an expert and resource. And so Rod one day was like, hey, Dr. Anderson ordered a Bovie electrosurge. Can you just drop it off to him? I'm like, hey, man, will you brush me up on this stuff so I know what I can talk about? He's not going to ask any questions. He's already bought it. He just needs it. And boy, I show up and he had all these questions. And I'm like,
of course he did, because Paul's very intelligent.
Oh, my gosh. He knows things better than, the people that make the products. He is a very, very smart guy, but he studies, he reads the literature. That's what I learned about him. And I knew that going into it. I'm like, this is not just some regular guy.
You made that mistake again, did you?
And I cussed Rod on the right arms. I told you, man. I knew he was.
Maybe look like an idiot.
He was so cool about it, and Paul's been great over the years. But no, it's really again about owning when you don't know something. Don't BS your way through it. These are patients' lives, and if
you don't know, here's a great way to ask the question. Be like, so somebody asks you a question you don't know. Be like, well, I'm actually interested. What do you think about it, doc? You're a doctor. I want to know your opinion. I'm just a sales rep.
Yeah.
That's a good way to say I don't know without saying I don't know.
It's sometimes a test. Some doctors I know that do this. They are checking to see if you're going to BS them or not. And if you do, and they already know the answer, you're screwed. So always, I don't know that answer, but I will go figure that out for you and get back to you. I'm sorry, I don't have it.
And then you better get back to them with it. Like, do whatever the hell you say you're going to do, because there's nothing worse than a sales rep like promises the world, even if it's something small, and then doesn't do it. It's like, well, how can I trust you?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's and it's honestly one of the best careers you can have, and you'll make lifelong friends. Buddy of mine, Dr. Nader Salib, shout out to him. We text every other week, or at least a couple times a week sometimes. But it's he'll call me on his hike, and we just talk while he's hiking, and you make lifelong friends, and you'll enjoy the job a lot more. But it's for us. I think we were talking about this yesterday or so. Some people will be the territory rep for 10, 15, 20 years, and they are so happy. It's a great living. It's a great life. You don't travel too far. You in your little
Make good money.
good money, and you're quite often not working very hard on a Friday. You can usually get a company write-off to go play a little around with your surgeon buddy or dentist buddy. But
Not anymore. I did
Yeah.
that for a long time. Stupid Sunshine Act.
but it's definitely a good career path and stuff. But I think when you go back to entrepreneurship and you ask me, what does that word mean? I mean pain, and I love to hurt. And for me, I
You
wish
do.
I could just be a rock star rep in this area, but something in me does not like to work in a corporate environment. And I also don't. I love challenges, and I love to go and try to disrupt or do something different or solve problems. And I think you got that bug. It's been there and idle, but I think you really got that bug in like 2020, 2021 ish. It started
I
hitting you.
kind of define it as like intrapreneurship, whereas like I was at big companies and tried to do things differently or make, get people to, and I had success in doing that in some degree, but it's not the same thing because people can tell you no.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a great segue into kind of what we're doing now is now it completely took that leap, right? Which is a scary thing to do. And part of it is scary because like I saw you over the years, like, living and dying by what you eat or kill, like building these businesses. And like literally one day you'd be, over the moon, like everything's going great. And literally the next day or 5 minutes later, you'd be like, oh, I want to kill myself. Everything's awful. This is the worst. Right. Like
Yeah.
it's a different kind of thing. And I think the benefit of us doing, this all in practice growth together, and we'll get into kind of what we're doing now, is that having your experience of that already, the manic depressive kind of states has been easier for me to come into that. You really pushed me over that. It's like, do you want to do this or not, Shane? I was scared as shit.
Yeah.
Because like I never done it for it. And I was
I
kind of
lobbied for an
waffling.
entire year heavily. It was
Yeah,
an
you
entire
really
year.
did. And then when the real opportunity came for us to do this, I was kind of like not hesitant. Yeah, I was hesitant. Let's just be honest. I was just scared. I think just admitting I was scared because of the unknown and all that. And it's like you got on the phone with me and you're like, you apologize for it later, which you absolutely didn't need to. And you were just like, Shane, quit being I won't say what the expletive was.
Nice word.
A nice word. Like, you can do this, but do you want to do this or not? Either take the dive or go back and work for a big company, but like you cannot keep waffling. You got to make a decision. And I literally that night I woke up, I was sweating. I think I was having like all these crazy dreams, but it was like this catharsis. Like I woke up and sweated out all the bad juju, the bad vibes. And I was like, I woke up and I'm like, I called you and I'm like, let's fucking go. Right. Like
I remember that.
it was, you had to push me over that edge. But when you did, it was just like, all right, it was, baby bird, you going to fly or you going to fall? And so far we've really flown with this thing. And as scary as it can be, I haven't really had fear with this. I think part of it's because we're doing it together, knowing that like I've always got your back, you've always got mine. I like 100% trust. I trust you, my family, which is way more important than any business thing. So for this it's having that, not a safety net. It's not that. It's just, listen, I don't mind failing at things because I've learned that's growth, but like I believe we can do anything, like and be successful whatever we try.
But you have to have the grit, and a lot of people think, I'm just going to start my own business, it's going to be okay. It's not for everybody, because it's the ebbs and flows that will deteriorate you and age you. I have a lot more grays in here than I used to, for sure. But the beauty of it is it's hard to build because it's hard to take away. And
Yeah.
that's the key component there, is that every time you're grinding away and building something, it's hard to take away, but your heart has to be in it. And I think for you and I've tried the corporate environment and enjoyed it, and I think I did pretty well in that
You
atmosphere.
did great, to be honest with you.
But you as well.
But on that side of it, on the personal side, it was killing you.
Yeah, because I'm the type of person that likes to fix things. If I see a problem, make a solution.
Let's do it now. Why do we need to wait? Let's go.
But sometimes in a big infrastructure, right? It's like take the government, for instance. It's hard to shift the government into a different direction on different things because it moves slow because it's so big. There's so many chains. And in corporate, it is often like that. And I think that's where when you were
or like, and I'm sorry, but like logic doesn't always prevail, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like, logically, this makes sense. Everybody agrees it makes sense, but we're not going to do it because of this thing over here that it just doesn't connect to me.
It's also stopgaps to ensure there's no vulnerabilities in the castle, right? It's that 100%. Big for a reason, and so that's also part of. There's a justification for it, but
avoid risk at all costs. I think that's a good way to put it.
Right, because it could be very consequential. Whereas a startup that can make or break you. So you're like, well, I'm at the bottom anyways. Let's try. You can't lose.
What do we have to lose, right?
Right, and so you start jumping out of planes without parachutes, and so there's a much more pragmatic approach to things in that bigger infrastructure. But when you were at Bio, they were very nimble. They were still pretty small.
They were.
And so you were able to do some of that, but you still hit those stop gaps in a sense of because it was a corporation. They're like, Shane, we got to vet this a little bit first.
And the difference with that too is being, in the field sales rep, where as opposed to at a corporate environment or part of the corporate team. And I'll give them a lot of credit, especially back then. It may be different now, but I doubt it, right? Like Bogan and at the time, Lepresti was their VP of sales. And really my boss, like, be you, do what you do, and we'll back you up, right? As long as you're doing it ethically, being honest, like you have to be a good like do the right things, but like take chances, take risks. And that was actually encouraged. And so I think that was huge. When you're inside the corporate side, you can't take that perspective many times on surface level, like to everybody else. Like you want to try to, like some of the things we did, we fixed a lot of things and but there was a lot of things we wanted to do. Like, that's why you brought me on. And it was, and I'm not talking about any specific company genuinely, because I've been in a few, but it's like, but no, we don't want to do that because of this or that. And it drives you crazy because like, I know this is going to work. And like, I'll bet, like there's been so many times where I go to executives and be like, listen, I'll pay for this. I'll put in my own money, but I want 5% of this, whatever the revenue or and they're like, you know what? No, either we'll do it or we just no. Right.
Yeah.
Because I believe in it and that's why I like this so much. It's if we succeed, which we're doing pretty awesome right now. Or if we fail, it's on me and I can live with either one, but it's not because I won't fail because somebody told me no.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I think that for me is the joy.
I'll say that like every corporate client we've ever worked with, whether it be working for them or as a consultant, has been absolutely 100% supportive of our craziness and madness.
Oh yeah. It doesn't mean we always got to do what we wanted to do or we thought was right, but they've been supportive. They saw the psycho, but they saw the genius too.
Yeah. And so that was always nice, is that at least it was heard and acknowledged. It just, again, the castle can't take as much risk as the person outside trying to get in the castle.
100%. Because it affects 1,000 people, not one person.
Right. There's a lot more at risk. And so, but everybody's been, I think almost every implant company I've met with the C-suite at and discussed the changes in dentistry, and they've all been receptive and, and meeting with the one company that's doing like a DIA type conference now too. I mean, the working with their team, they're like, we want to do this, but we're misaligned in what we're wanting out of this. And then 2 years later, they end up starting a very similar type conference and a lot of the same speakers. And so it kind of validates what your crazy mind is thinking in a lot of this industry and where you're prophesizing of where it goes, but it just is not at the speed that we like. And that's really the crux of the issue is we like to go fast. We're Ricky Bobby, we want to go fast and
fast. With that cougar in the car
trying to win the race. I'll win it backwards. Whatever it takes.
Shake and bake with Shane and Blake. That's what we want.
That's it. But
all right, guys, this is a really long episode, so we decided to make it a 2-parter. So make sure you watch the second part or listen to the second part on whatever your preferred podcast consumption platform. But we'll catch you on the next All In Practice Growth podcast.
Thanks for listening to the All In Podcast. See you next time.